Hi everyone, this is Taslima from Taslima Maya Art. Welcome to my channel. So today what I'm hoping to do is a new technique, or a technique that I haven't tried myself before, and I do it 4 times in this video. It's called a traveling funnel flip cup pour, and I saw it on a tutorial by Sheldon of Shelrock Art, so a big shout out to him, and a big thank you as well for helping me learn this technique. It's his video 126 if you want to watch it and follow that, but this is how I mix my paints for this technique. I'm in the UK, so I use Johnstones Silk Black House Paint, Amsterdam Titanium White and Deep Gold, Pebeo Vivid Pink, Cadmium Red Hue and Turquoise Blue. The black paint I used as my base, and for my pouring medium with the colours I used 1 part Daler Rowney Pouring Medium, with 2 parts craft PVA glue and 1 part water at a 60:40 ratio with my paints. I put 1 drop of silicone in each of my colours apart from the base colour. So this was Amsterdam Deep Gold, and then that's the Turquoise Blue by Pebeo, the Cadmium Red Hue by Pebeo, and the Vivid Pink by Pebeo. And then this was my pouring medium. So I used a funnel and a shot glass for this technique. And this was round 1, which was a test run. I poured some black base across the tile that I used, so you can use canvas as well. And then I layered my paints in a cup. And as I said, this was a small shot glass, which was enough for the small tile I was using. The tile I had was a 10 by 10 centimetre tile. The consistency was about a 1 second trace. So here I am just laying the colours. I didn't do this in any particular order. All of my paints were actually opaque colours, just to make sure that they showed up on the black background. As I said, I've never really used a black base before. This was my first time, and it did take me quite a few goes to try and get it right. And all the times I attempted are actually in this video, so you can see what the results were as well. With paint pouring, there's just so many different and new techniques to try if you're a beginner, so it can be slightly nerve-wracking. I know I was a bit nervous doing this and worried I would just waste a load of paint and any canvases I tried on. This is why I started small, really, because I've never really done this technique before, and although Sheldon has explained to me how he's done it, and I've watched his video several times, doing it yourself is always slightly nerve-wracking when you do it the first time. But I was quite lucky, I suppose, because they weren't all complete fails. The first one was a little bit dull in colour, but you'll see that in a minute. And I did get the technique wrong at one point, and I had to correct it, but you'll also see that in a minute. So here I am now pouring the paint in the cup into my funnel. Now my funnel is rested against the black paint there that I poured on the tile. And I'm just going to be dragging that along. So I'm dragging the funnel along the black paint. And you will see in a minute that I've made a mistake there straight away. I didn't do what Sheldon did in this video, which was keep the funnel underneath the black paint. I've actually poured it across the top of the black paint there, because I lifted it a little too much. So a bit of a oopsie on my part. And then I try to wonder here what to do about that, as you can see. So I decide actually, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cover the substrate with more silk black Johnstones paint, house paint. Spread it out like I was going to anyway. And then I actually use a palette knife to swipe the black base across the top of those colours which are resting on top of the black, to try and correct my mistake. But yeah, regardless of that, the outcome isn't all too bad, but you'll see that in a second then when we get there. Here I am now trying to get some black paint, base paint onto my palette knife and correcting the mistake I made. This was not the plan in terms of doing this funnel drag across the black paint. However, it's not too bad. You can see there are some cells emerging, the very rounded cells. I seem to have lost a lot of my colours as well, but mostly the cadmium red is showing. But the other colours, such as the deep gold and a turquoise blue, seem to have gotten quite hidden, and they haven't really popped up. So as you can see, I was tilting it a little bit to try and make sure the pattern works, and the part that didn't really come out very well can be tilted off the substrate, and I'm giving it a few spins now to try and spread out that pattern. And here is a little close-up for you to see the cells. Some of them are slightly wonky because I probably tilted it a little too much, but I guess you live and learn, and I learned a lot from doing this first attempt at it. It is quite pretty, but I did lose a lot of the colours, and I think it's okay for a first go, and I can only improve for the next one. What do you guys think of it? Leave any comments in the comment section if you can. It'd be nice to hear. I think at this point I was just really grateful that it wasn't a complete flop being my first attempt. You know, it's sort of salvageable, and I'd probably keep it just to remind myself this is the first time I did this type of technique. Here I'm just touching up the sides with some black paint to make sure that it's full coverage all around. Again, I'm giving it a little torch, quick torch over just to get rid of any bubbles, because what I don't want to happen is for it to dry and bubbles rise up to the surface and cause little indentations or holes in the end dried result. So this was my first attempt. On to the next one. This was my second attempt on a 4x4 tile again, and it came out slightly better. You can see in the close-up actually that some of the blues and golds came through, and it's a really interesting one. My third try, I was still using black house paint, and I hadn't moved on to black acrylic at this point, but I thought that I would on the fourth try. So here's my third try now. As before, I'm doing a squiggly black line on my canvas. This is a slightly larger canvas. It's a 20 by 20 centimeter canvas. So I'm going to be using a bit more paint with this one in my funnel, in my cup. So here goes nothing. In this one, I layered the paints directly into the funnel rather than in a cup first, just to see what the difference would be in terms of outcome. I found that there wasn't actually much difference in the end outcome, apart from the fact that the colours mixed a bit more when I poured it from a cup rather than straight into the funnel. So I guess it also depends on how you layer the paints, because I layered my paints differently in each attempt I made out of the 4 attempts. I'm actually fully determined this time to make sure I follow instruction and follow the video I watched, the tutorial by Sheldon, and I'm making sure I am dragging the spout of the funnel right through the black, touching the canvas so that the paint is released underneath the black paint rather than on top of it. and I think I am successful mostly in this attempt, which is a good sign that I've learned from my mistakes. And I'm beginning to have a bit of fun now as well with it to see what the outcome might be. It is quite exciting doing these new techniques because, you know, you're sort of hoping that it works out well, and when it does, it's such a good feeling, isn't it? So I'm sure most of you felt the same as well when something has gone right. It's just a feeling you can't replicate anywhere else. Also, there are always differences in terms of ingredients and things that you might be using. Obviously, you know, in Sheldon's video, he uses a completely different base paint to me. He uses acrylic paint. Here I'm using house paint just to see what would happen. So it's sort of experimental, I suppose. In my fourth and final try, in this video, I do use acrylic paint. So I use Oxide Black by Amsterdam, and you will see the difference in the outcome for that. Time to cover the substrate again, just so that the paint has somewhere to flow to when it spreads out and it's not rolling over itself, as it would do if the canvas was left blank and I was tilting it or spinning it. So this helps it sort of not roll over itself so much and lose those cells. I'm going to use a palette knife once again to spread that all out and then see where it goes from there. Time to torch it again and watch those cells pop. And they really do this time. It really is such a cool technique, and I think it's really fun and exciting seeing all the colours emerge. And also, I mean, depending on how you layer your paints, you could probably get different results. You know, you could put in a bit of white into the layers or bad black as well, or completely different colours. So there's so much that you can do with it. One tip is that you can also use Amsterdam white paint or white acrylic paint in your layers just to make sure that the cells are crisper. And also a lot of people complain that when they do any sort of pour on a black base or black background, it can dull some of the colours. But I think one of the issues is you have to make sure you're using opaque colours, and also once it's all dried and cured, when you varnish or resin, the colours often pop much better than straight after it's dried. So it looks a lot more vibrant then once you've put a finish on it. Another thing to remember is that this would look really, really good with fluorescent colours or this little piggy pigments, as they are a lot more vibrant. So that will be my next attempt, I think, following this video. I might have a go at using pigments and brighter colours. I do love what the outcome of this is. As you can see, there's a lot going on the canvas there, and to me, I could easily wait till that dried and embellish it or change it into possibly a dragon's head or a snake head or something, so I could paint on top of a dried canvas and put additions onto it to alter it. And I think that would look fantastic against the black, so it's a possibility, definitely. I chose not to wreck it too much or do too many alterations with this skewer because I actually really like it as it is. And I think it's got enough going on really there without me having to add more embellishments to it while it's still wet. And here is a quick close-up for you guys so you can see the cells that are formed and the patterns. And I really, really do like this one. But you will see that my final attempt, the fourth one, is probably the best one. Again, here is the third attempt, closer, and you can see there's a lot of interesting things to see. And I think that I might add a dragon's head to this when it's dry. So now on to the final attempt. I'm using the same size canvas as before, which is a 20cm by 20cm canvas. And I'm using the exact same colours as you can see there, with the addition of the new black base acrylic paint. And for this one I used Amsterdam Oxide Black as a base paint, and I mixed in my pouring medium with the black in the same ratio as I did my colours. So 60-40, 60% pouring medium to 40% paint. And I've listed these already for you in the video earlier on, and it's also in the description box as well. So, fourth and final attempt. I did a drip test with all my colours, including the black base, to make sure my consistencies were all the same. And just to reiterate, it is the same pouring medium that I used previously in my previous 3 attempts, at the same ratio, 60-40, 60% PM, 40% paint. So nothing's really changed in this one, apart from the base paint, which is now Amsterdam Oxide Black rather than house paint. And I've used a scale to measure this by weight. Okay, so I've used one of these. Right, so what we're going to do is crack on with it. I'm doing a funnel pour, a flip cup funnel pour. So let's do that next. So let's begin by pouring on some of this in an S shape. So I'm hoping you can all see what I'm doing. I'm going to hold this up and I'm going to pour it across the canvas. Oops, maybe that way is not the best way. So here we go. And if you can see this, yep, you can. And I'm going to go back over it so there's enough. I'm going to leave the rest so I can cover the canvas later with the same paint. Okay, so I've got to make sure I've got enough paint here to enable full coverage of this canvas. I'm hoping that is true. I'm going to quickly blast it with one of these so some of the top bubbles are gone, and then I'm going to start off by using a funnel, okay, and a glass. Okay, so I'm going to layer my paints into here to begin with, so let's do that. So we will start off with some white, I think, this time. So let's do that, and I'm just going to pour it into the sides. It's enough, and then I'll add some gold. No, I'll add some red, I think, next. So as I said, the names of each of these colours I'll pop into the description box for you, and also onto the screen there. And then after that, I think we'll go for pink. So it's a much larger canvas. I'm going to put a bit more paint than I normally do, and then we'll go for the gold, I think. And I want to get enough gold on there, and then maybe some white again, and then the blue, or rather I should say turquoise. There we go, some more white, and then oops, some blue. Is that enough? Maybe a bit more gold. And lastly, a bit more red. I say lastly, but I might add a little bit of pink as well now. And finally, a bit pink. I think I want a bit more red again because I really like the colour. Okay, so that's my flip cup ready. What I need to do next really is get hold of my funnel. So let's do that next. Actually, I might add a bit of black in here as well. So let's do that. A little bit of black in here. And maybe a little bit more white. I'm not doing these in any kind of order, but I did try and avoid putting the blue and the red next to each other, just so I don't get a colour I don't like that mixes up with those colours. So, okay, so here goes now. So we've got that, and we've got the paint on there. So what we need to do is get a funnel. Okay, I could probably use a bigger one, really, ideally. Let me see if I can pop it into this one, which is slightly bigger. I'm going to add a bit more paint to this. Let me see if I can add a tiny bit more paint. I'm hoping I have enough of this. I've not really measured how much I need for this canvas and how much I have. Let's do that again. Okay, we've got that there. And we've got our funnel now. Okay, again, I've blasted it with a torch. Right, okay, and then I'm going to use a funnel, and I've got my flip cup here. Okay, so I'm going to put it in this way, I think. Okay, so let's, if you can see that, I'm popping that into the paint, and I'm going to pour this in. Okay, so now I've got the paint ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it along paint. And I'm going to I'm looking at the top to see if it's actually leaving the funnel, and it is. I'm trying to keep the funnel spout right underneath the black paint rather than on top of it, and release bits of paint at a time. And I've seen this done on one of Sheldon Briscoe's Shelrock Art video tutorials, and he's had a chat with me as well about paint consistencies, pouring mediums. So in a way I've got him to thank for showing me how to do this technique, or my learning this technique, and I'm really hoping I can do him proud and that this will work out this time. This is actually my first go using just Amsterdam acrylic black paint. But this is me trying to do him proud, I suppose, and see if I can actually learn from one of the videos I've watched. So okay, so that, as you can see, is empty. I can pop that somewhere else, maybe into the cup. There we go. And now what you can see, I suppose you can see this, I hope you can, is a whole heap of paint. So I'm going to torch this in a minute. So I'll wait for a few minutes to let it sort of, I suppose, form some cells. Then I might just go over it like this. I mean, there's a lot of paint on the surface at the moment, and this is heating up some of the silicone that's in the paint. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. And what I'm going to do now is add more black paint around the edges. So you can see, I hope you can see, the beautiful colours emerging. I will get my palette knife out in a minute and make sure that there's enough paint all over to coat this canvas. I probably should have mixed a little bit more paint, but hopefully this will be okay and I won't mess this up. You never know with this when you're a beginner and doing a new technique you've never done before. You can make mistakes quite easily, but you always learn from those mistakes, so all is well that ends well, I suppose. And you can correct them, I suppose, and make sure it works out properly the next time. So here we go, we've got all the paint. We want to make sure we've got all the paint out. We need a bit more on this side. Let's scrape that right out. I think I might be losing some of my cells at the other end because this surface probably needs to be a bit more level than it is. There we go. That's all of the paint. Right, pop that over here. Now I'm just gonna, probably should use a spatula, but this is already dirty, so I might as well just use this. And then make sure that all my canvas is completely covered. There's an awful lot of paint on this canvas right now. I mean, I laid it on quite thick to begin with, I think, and hopefully it's not too much. I can spin some of it off. Well, let's just try and get it all covered to begin with, and then we'll deal with the next bit. Right, let's turn this around a little bit. Okay. Oops, there we go. I've just touched some really old paint that was still wet. I should be wearing gloves really, but I keep forgetting every time. And I end up having to scrub my hands after each session. Not great, but I'm going to have to start remembering to put on gloves. Oh god, I'll touch the colours then. Okay, last bit now. I might forward this bit so you don't have to watch it. There we go. Hang on a minute, I forgot this edge. There we go. There we go. So there we go. That's another thing done. Now what I need to do is I need to probably tilt it. There's a bit I missed here. Right, okay. So I need to tilt it. So this is what it's looking like. I'm hoping, or maybe I will spin it. I mean, I don't want to lose the shape of the cells, so I'll spin it, I think. Okay, so let's give it a spin. Oops, maybe that wasn't the best way to stop it. Where are we going with this? Okay, so maybe we can, you can see I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe we can give it another torch. I had hoped the colours would be brighter than with the house paint, but to be honest, looking at it, they're pretty much the same as what I did for my other one. So my other one is drying at the moment. I can show you what it looks like. So this is the other one that I did earlier. And then this is with house paint rather than with just acrylic paint, Amsterdam acrylic paint. Oxide black is the base paint for this one, whereas this is just Johnstones silk emulsion house paint. Okay, so back to this one then. Oh, it's getting bigger. It's looking interesting. Okay, so this is what it's looking like now. Very interesting. So I'll take you down for a closer zoom up. Oh, I'll bring this up actually. So that's what it looks like. It's very pretty. I mean, very pretty colours. They could be more vibrant, I guess, but I think the black stops them from being too vibrant. And maybe next time I will use TLPs to see what they look like, because they're meant to be very, very vibrant. I might spin it again a little bit. And then we'll stop it down. I'll show you the dry results as soon as I'm done. Okay. Okay guys, so here is the dry result, and as you can see it's really quite a stunning piece. You can see so much detail in there, lots of little cells, lots of colours, and I'm really happy with it. I don't think I will now add a dragon's head to it after all. I love it too much. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this journey. I've enjoyed having you here. Please leave any comments on my video. Bye!